Folks, breaking news in the Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn fight. Chris Eubank Jr. has missed weight as of recording. This is one day before their big-time blockbuster matchup in Tottenham Stadium. This was a major concern if you were a Chris Eubank Jr. fan, and we're going to talk about why it will, quite frankly, influence my pick. And once again, don't forget, I will be live with True Jordy, the watch-along. You guys do not want to miss it here on this channel, on his channel, on the Ring Magazine YouTube, and live on DAZN. We're one day away from the epic clash. And, of course, it's come with controversy. Chris Eubank Jr. misses weight, and the repercussions could be massive. I'm not just talking about the fight. I'm talking about his pockets. Let's talk about it. The breakdown and my final predictions. Let's go. So, as of 4 hours ago, I was filming something else that you guys are going to be seeing very soon on the channel. Let's just call it a rematch of sorts. But while that was happening, Chris Eubank Jr. weighed in a little bit later than he was supposed to today. As everybody had talked about this fight, they had spoken about the weight. Chris Eubank Jr. coming down to 160, which is a weight he's fought at for the last 4 or 5 fights, but it's a weight at his age and with the rehydration clause attached to making this weight that was looked at as a massive issue for this fight, and quite frankly a reason that I looked at this fight as very dangerous for Chris Eubank Jr. because Conor Benn fought at 154 in his last fight, weighed in today at 156. Very smart of him and his team to give him every advantage possible for coming up in weight. And he carries power in his hands. We know this. So going into today, the question was, is Chris going to make weight, and how hard is it going to be for him? If you guys watched the press conference yesterday, he went on this just amazing soliloquy, this monologue about what pain is and how if he can go through losing a brother, being disconnected from his father, and still have the mindset for this fight, the weight cut is going to be painful physically, but he's prepared for it. And while in the moment that sounded great and it gave me goosebumps, it didn't seem like he was as prepared for it potentially as he needed to be, because from the Ring Magazine, Chris Eubank Jr. weighed 160.2 in his first attempt to make weight today. Now, that's a 0.2 miss, like a 0.2 of a pound miss. And again, this is a punch showing up a little bit later for the weigh-in. I'm not really sure about penalties for stuff like that. It doesn't seem like there was one. So he missed in his first attempt. Then he has to go back, re-weigh again, and he misses the weight again, but this time by 0.05 pounds. You're talking about a 0.5 of a pound he misses this by. And obviously, okay, it's a miss. You missed weight at 160. That's a big deal, and we're going to talk about why in a second. But the fine to me is insane. He got fined 500 racks for a 0.05 miss. And okay, he missed the weight. I get it. But I'm pretty sure in most cases, correct me if I'm wrong, comment section, you love to do that anyway. Isn't it $100,000 per pound usually when you miss? It seems like this weight clause contract was ironed out very, very heavily in favor of Conor Benn because, of course, there's the rehydration. But in this specific contract, it was a $500,000 fine per, I guess, pound. I have no idea, which is a massive miss for Chris because, again, I don't know. The rumor is that they're making 10 million euros for this fight, or $7.5 million. That's a big bag, but to have 500 of it stripped away from you already, on top of, apparently there's another fine he's going to have to pay. I think the egging situation was another fine that's adding up to $600,000 and $650,000 fines that Chris Eubank Jr. is just shelling out before the fight even starts. That is a massive problem because, again, it's not just the money. It's not just the amount of time it took him to get to the point where he needed to weigh in. It's the effect on his body because not only has he missed weight, but now, again, according to said contract, he is going to have to keep a certain amount of weight off. He cannot exceed 170 pounds until tomorrow at 8 a.m. local time, or he'll face even further penalty that the rumor is going to be upwards of close to $1 million. This is a terrible thing for Chris Eubank Jr. I had people online trying to tell me that he was playing the game here and that, oh, he was just trying to, in some way, close the gap for the rehydration period, which made no sense to me because if Chris Eubank is trying to keep himself at 160 pounds so he doesn't have to have more time at 170 pounds, that made no sense to me. Like, this is flat out a miss from Chris, and it's honestly, to me, you can call it unprofessional, and maybe that's what it is, but I look at it as a byproduct of the terrible practice in combat sports that is weight cutting. And I say that because this is a brutal, brutal sport by itself. Punching people in the face is damaging, and when you deplete your body, when you strip away the nutrients, the salt, the hydration of your body, and in this case, for Chris Eubank Jr. with the rehydration clause, 12 hours later, 13 hours later, he's still trying to put that weight back on. It is a massive, massive detriment to your body, and potentially, it's not even potentially, it will be a detriment to the fight. And when I talk about the terrible practice that is weight cutting, I want you guys to look at this video. And I've heard that the British Boxing Board of Control is not happy with Chris for posting this video, but this is the reality of weight cutting. It's awful, and we should stop it completely in combat sports. He's got to have, I don't know, an absurd amount of towels on him and on the floor over his face. There's some sort of a sauna suit on him as well. This is going to have a massive effect on this fight. It's going to. And before I even get into predicting the fight, we have to stop this, man. We have to stop weight cutting. It's just bad. It's bad for you. It's not going to do anything to help him. I don't want to hear the argument anymore about being the bigger man when the bigger man has to deplete himself to this level. And I get it. It's a choice. Fighters make that choice. They're grown men. They're going to do what they want to do. But this is what I have been clamoring about, what showbiz has been clamoring about, and even Chris Eubank Sr. has been clamoring about. I hope, I pray that this stuff is eliminated from the sport. There's my little rant on cutting weight and how it's just a terrible practice that we'll probably never get rid of in combat sports, but really should be done away with. Guys should be fighting at their natural weight. It just makes more sense for the fighter, for their health, for matchups and everything else. But then again, everybody's a grown-up here, and Chris chose this fight. He chose to accept the terms of this fight, and, you know, unfortunately, he did not abide by the terms of the fight. If you sign the contract, you have to do it, and that's the most cold way to put it, but it's the most real way to put it. For Chris, this was a moment where he failed to do what he said he was going to do, and I know all the mental games and all the mental warfare that's been going on, this will be a part of it. For everything Chris said about being able to take the pain and I'm going to show up and do what I need to do, as much as I don't agree that he should be cutting the weight he's cutting to get to this, he said he would do it. He signed on the dotted line that he would do it, and he did not. He's going to get fined heavily, and this is where it leads into the fight for me, because this matchup, to me, is a 50-50 matchup presenting all of the different abilities from both fighters. I think Chris Eubank Jr., throughout his career, has been a more technically sound fighter than Conor Benn. That doesn't mean he doesn't get down and scrap here and there. He absolutely, and honestly, I think he may be a better fighter when he does that, when he gets down and bites down on that mouthpiece and gets into the scrap. And he also has, you know, a height advantage. I don't know about a strength advantage at this point. Quite frankly, I have no idea. He will have an experience edge on Conor Benn. And as much as I want to give credence to that, I'm learning in combat sports, sometimes experience, even if it is at the highest level, if it is experience losing at the highest level, it's not as valuable to me as maybe I once thought it was. But I just think the skills pay the bills for Chris Eubank, and for him to win this fight, he is going to have to outbox Conor Benn for the entirety of the fight. And I think he can do that, but I don't know that he will. And I say that because I've watched Chris Eubank Jr. go from 5-6 years ago, a guy that I would have been like, yeah, he's going to run away with this fight. He's going to win this fight going away, outboxing Conor Benn, to the last 2 or 3 years. Obviously, the stoppage to Liam Smith, even in the rematch where I thought he ran right over Liam Smith, he just didn't have the same volume of output. And in his last fight, it didn't look like the same Chris Eubank Jr. at all. 35 years old. A lot of fights on his body. We talk about the experience. I talked to you guys about this in the last video, how it's a double-sided coin. It's a good thing that he has more experience. He's been in there for a longer period, but it's a bad thing because his body has been through some of the hardest parts of boxing, and he's made this weight cut over and over and over. Things that he could do when his body was younger and it didn't affect him as much, I think are going to affect him more now because of his age, because of the repetition of doing this, because as you get older, cutting that weight is not as easy. You can see that today with the miss. It's going to affect his legs, it's going to affect his punch power, and it's definitely, in my opinion, going to affect his punch resistance. No doubt about it. And he's going in there with a puncher in Conor Benn. And listen, on Conor's side, I know in his last fight, he didn't, or maybe last 2 fights, he didn't stop the guy. But I watched him carry that same explosiveness and speed and power later into the rounds. For everybody saying this is 4 rounds, Conor Benn's going to do it, and if he can't do it in the 4 rounds, then it's going to be Chris Eubank's fight. Maybe that's the way it goes, but I'm not bought into this concrete way of like early Benn, late Eubank. I think Conor Benn is still dangerous late. I could see him being dangerous in round 7, 8, potentially 9, and I think that he is going to come out like a bull in that first round. He's going to test the chin of Chris Eubank Jr. early in this fight, as he should. And obviously there's holes in what Conor Benn is going to do as well. He's a big puncher. and he puts a lot into every single punch, right? There isn't a lot of, set up tap shots to get to the big right hand or the left hook. Everything is meant to hurt. Everything is meant to put you down. And there's gifts and drawbacks to that as well. Chris Eubank Jr. has a beautiful uppercut off his back foot. He has great timing in his hands. And with Conor Benn being so low to the ground and level changing as much as he does, there's opportunities there to step back with the uppercut as Conor throws the hook over the top, but that's one of the worst combinations for uppercutters as well. So it's a back and forth deal. My point is, I think Conor Benn wins this fight, and I think he wins it by knockout. For everybody that wants to talk about the skills involved, sure, skill advantage probably is going to go to Chris Eubank Jr. Speed advantage probably to Conor Benn. Timing is to Chris Eubank. Power is to Conor Benn. Experience to Chris Eubank. Youthful exuberance to Conor Benn. Exchanges, both gentlemen. And I think that is where Chris Eubank loses this fight. And I just have to be honest, it is a major factor to me that he missed weight today, that he had to go through this weight cut again, that he is 35 years old, that he doesn't look the same in his last couple of fights, and there's a rehydration clause up until 8 a.m. tomorrow for Chris Eubank Jr. All of the mental games, all of the pressure, it does feel like, is on Chris Eubank Jr., especially with this weight miss, people wanting to root for him for this fight. Obviously, the stuff with Chris Eubank Sr., it's just all adding up to me Conor Benn by knockout, and that's where I'm going to go with my pick. I know it's the underdog pick. I'm sure the lines have moved now that Chris Eubank Jr. has missed weight, but that's where I'm going. That's what I think happens, and I think it's going to be, up until that point, a dogfight. And how we get to that point, I don't know. I know Conor Benn's going to walk forward. I know Eubank is going to probably look to box on the outside early, but there's going to have to be a moment in that early part of the fight where he's going to have to gain Conor Benn's respect. If he can't do that, Conor Benn, I think, he may run him over. This is a big, big problem for Chris Eubank Jr., and I could be completely wrong, and all the physical detriments that come with weight cutting could potentially not affect Chris Eubank Jr. at all. Or maybe they do, and it's still not enough for Conor Benn, but I'm putting my eggs in the basket of the guy who did not have to completely deplete his body. Eubank Jr. absolutely can win this fight. I just think he's going to have to do it despite all of the other things that I've laid out for you, and I just don't know if he can. But comment section, you guys let me know what you think. I think we're about 30 hours away at this point. By the time you see the video, it'll be more like 24 hours away. Comment below, and I will see you guys tomorrow for the big show. Eubank Jr., Conor Benn, 65,000 people sold out in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Myself, True Jordy, will be there live in the venue to show you guys our version of the watch party. We're going to be lit in there. It's going to be a great time. I'll see you guys then. But it's combat sports. Everybody knows as an adult what they're getting into. I hope everybody leaves this ring safe. You guys let me know down below what you think. Who wins this fight and why? I don't have those answers. I'm going to go to the weigh-ins right now, so I'll see you guys soon. I guess we'll find out.